Hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Puddles, and in this video I will be showing you my process when it comes to character design. And I'm sorry I have been MIA for a while. My comic has a death grip on my soul, so even though I've wanted to make more videos, I simply don't have the time. But we can start off the character design process with step 1, which is story concept, aka character concepting. When you start a story, you usually have a picture in your head of what your characters look like, but in order to develop their full potential, you need to go through several passes of designs so you can pick the strongest design out of the bunch. Think of it like a casting call for a movie, and it's your job to pick the right actors for the movie. Otherwise, it might not be a very good movie. Character-driven stories are a lot easier when it comes to designing because you already have a very strong sense of what you want your characters to be based on their personality and looks. So if you have, for example, a love story between two characters, you already have an idea of how these characters are going to interact with each other, and you already have an idea of their personalities. You just need a design. You need to put a face to a name. So in this early concepting stage, you need to know a couple of things, which is that your setting actually matters and can impact your character design. Say if you are writing a story about a Western, taking place in Western times in America, your characters are going to look Western. You don't want to have a character that's set in medieval time looking like they just came out of Star Trek, unless it's a medieval fantasy. That's a whole other ballpark. When it comes to character design, it's important to keep in mind your setting, because if your characters don't match that setting, it's going to look out of place and will take your readers out of the story, because it's just so jarring to picture a medieval fantasy, but you're wearing skinny jeans, It doesn't really make sense. That would be more of an isekai than anything. But in this early concepting stage, you can also decide their character's personality and their name. That also affects how they look. I'm starting to develop a different story other than my comic, and my characters' names affect their design. So for example, Mira would be Miragold or Miracle. So Mira has lighter hair, very bubbly personality, and her counterpart, Llewellyn, is more dark because of their occupation. So they're a bit more dark and gloomy and mistrustful, so they also have dark hair to go with that personality. So, that's just something to consider when designing your characters, is that you can also define their name to represent something about their character. You can also design their outfits based on their personality or their occupation in this early concepting stage. But a lot of factors go into the concept stage. So mainly everything that I'm about to talk about is technically concepting. But early in its development, my comic, Alice the Vampire Slayer on Webtoon, shameless plug, had very different character designs than its current model, because in a way that was basically a pilot episode. But when I took my story and turned it into a comic, I had to shift around the characters' personality and their designs. I had to do a whole revamp to everything about my characters. Mary went from being a 6-foot giant aerial hair looking ass to her 5'10" self. That's a huge, huge difference when it comes to that character. But also I had to reimagine some aspects of the characters' personalities and backgrounds in this early stage. Because I'm pretty sure in the original story, Alice's mom, Susan, was not as bad as she is now. I just made her that way because Susan as a character is more spiteful than anything, and she is willing to do anything for power, so I made her a bit more evil than her earlier counterpart. But that's just how characters change in the early concept stage. Step 2, when it comes to my character design process, is a rough draft. It's when I actually draw out different faces and proportions and try out different hair colors and figure out which one I prefer over the others, because sometimes it does take more than one try when it comes to designing a character, and that's okay. During this rough draft, you can also decide their body type, face type, and hair type. So a more evil character would be a bit more pointy because of shape language. That's something you can also factor in. If you have a villainous character, they would be more pointy, and you have a heroic character, they'd be more rounded. And like a guardian or something, like someone reliable, would be a square shape, because that's a solid design. A character's looks can also affect their personality. Their background can also affect their personality. But that just depends if you want to actually make your character a 3-dimensional being instead of just a one-note character. It's just a matter of thinking everything through because everything corresponds with one another. So you can't have one thing without the other, basically. If your character doesn't have a personality or a background, where's the excitement? You don't have a character, you just have a sock puppet. Like, there's no personality there. It's just there to say words. You need to give your characters depth, and you can do that during these early stages. Step 3 would be tie down, is when you find right design and you tighten the lines. You make your lines a bit more clearer. You can work on different hairstyles at this point, or full body poses. That can also give you a sense of their personality based on their stances and how they carry themselves. But that's more of your tie down. But yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. Is just if you have a design that you like more than the others, after several variation, that is just your character. That's just what it is. And then for step 4, rough pass, take all of your elements that you have created so far, your character concept, your personality, your background, everything, mash them together. And you can usually start making a character sheet at this point. And with the character sheet, you can also add accessories, maybe further developing their personality or their occupation. And you can add little notes to your character sheet so you can remember aspects that you've added after your concepting stage. Like, a good example I can show you of my character concepting phase is that Freya, I haven't been drawing her lately, but Freya has recently gone through a character redesign, and that's just because her story setting is based in medieval fantasy, but her clothing style was always way too modern. It was basically jeans, a shirt, very out of place horned helmet. Didn't make any sense. It was very jarring to draw her. I gave her an overhaul on her personality and her background, as well as implementing some of her cultural aspects, because Freya is a northerner in my story, which basically amounts to a Viking. Instead of just giving her my default hairstyle, I have decided to give Freya braids because she is a warrior. She would have her hair up instead of down all the time, because it would be stupid to have her hair down. It would get in the way. But during this redesign, I also implemented her signature colors, which is green and earthy tones, because she ends up becoming a down-to-earth character. But her original personality I also had to overhaul because she is in fact a princess. Surprise, surprise. Freya, my warrior, is a princess. So in her princess design, she always has her hair up in a loose bun out of her face, but it's more of a regal hairstyle instead of a warrior hairstyle. That's just the redesign process, was mainly her hair and her clothing and her background, instead of her personality. That never really changed. But you don't have to settle for that. You can always go back and redesign and reflect and add more to your characters as much as you want to. Enough with my rambling. Step 5 is final pass. So after you are satisfied with your concept and character design, you can focus more on your color palettes. Implement color theory to your designs. If your character is angry all the frickin' time, they'd be dressed in a more red, warm colors instead of a down-to-earth character who would be more earthy tones, or a joyful character who would be lighter, think pink and yellow. Those are your happy colors. Blue would be a bit more sad. You could just look to Inside Out for color theory, because joy is yellow, anger is red, fear is purple, green is envy. For those colors, you can also use them in different ways. Anyway, you don't have to always stick with what has already been decided when it comes to color theory. You can always make it your own, to your own character's personality and whatever. You don't have to stick with the normal. You can dress your characters in whatever color palette you want, but it does help solidify your character personality if you select certain colors. It also happens to also correspond with the earlier concept stage, with designing the character in the first place for their skin tone. So if they stay inside, most of the time they'd be a bit lighter. If they're outside a lot of the time, they'll be a bit darker because sun. That's just how that goes. So if their occupation is more outside work, more manual labor, they'd be a bit stronger. They'd probably be a bit tanner than usual, like if someone is just in a library all the time, based on what they do in their free time. Step 6 is just congratulations. You now have a character that you need to draw 1,000 more times. And this is the reason why I did mention that you should make character model sheets and have some idea for various outfit changes, because if you're making a comic like me, I found that keeping my characters in the same outfits all the time seemed a bit Scooby-Doo, and I want my characters to feel real, so they change clothing every now and then, and it makes my life a living hell because I have to redesign characters' clothing all the frickin' time. If you want your story to feel a bit more real and characters feel a bit more alive, then you would develop more than one outfit for them. And it's also a good idea to have hairstyle variations. I know I have struggled with drawing Alice's hair down because I didn't really know how to draw that. I only knew how to draw her with her hair up. But now that I know how to do that, I can have her hair down in more situations than just sticking with one hairstyle. But that is that is the hairstyle that she is most comfortable with. That's part of her personality, is having her hair out of her face because she likes to read and discover new secrets and whatever. And it also keeps it out of her face for combat. That's really all that there is when it comes to character design and concepting. There's a lot of things to factor in when it comes to designing your characters and creating their personalities and their backgrounds. I can't really go into depth about backgrounds, but it will affect your character's psyche, their personality, and probably their outlook on life. But it's only if you treat your characters as if they're real people instead of just sock puppets. It's also good to have an idea in your head what your character sounds like, because you can also develop their look based on what they sound like to you. But really, that's all there is when it comes to my process in character designing. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and you know what? I will see you in the next video. I promise I will do my best to create more content for you guys, but I have to take care of my comic first because it has a death grip on my soul. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.